Y'all, we are back with the reactions. Today, we got Do White People Experience Racism? Shout out to Middle Ground. Shout out to Jubilee. I just thought it was an interesting video to react to. I never thought about it really at all when it comes to white people and racism. So I thought it would be a great video to react to. So without further ado, let's just get right into the video. No need to keep talking.
Forward if you agree with the prompt. White people also experience racism.
Interesting. This video gonna be long, so
I think racism is definitely not a one race against the other. It goes all ways. It's not. It doesn't matter if you're white, if you're black, if you're Asian. Doesn't matter. You could experience racism no matter what color your
Joshua, black.
skin is.
I think that people have a propensity to kind of have an aversion towards what's different from them. I've been called a cracker before. I've been told I was going to get beaten up because I was white. I would argue that on a systemic level, white people don't experience racism the same way a lot of other races experience racism. But I would say on an individual level, any group is capable of being racist towards another group as well.
I agree. I think that I will say the word cracker, I always felt like never really held that much. I always felt like that word was kind of redundant. Like nobody really uses that word like that, and when it is used, it doesn't really mean as much than saying the N-word. That's just me. I just don't think I don't think it holds as much weight. But you know, because I've been around people who have said both, and one word does not carry as much weight as the other one. People, at least the people that I've been around, they don't carry as much weight with the word cracker than the N-word. So it's just an interesting conversation though.
So the argument against this position frequently is that racism is a system, not a sentiment in the United States. And I agree with that really strongly, but at the same time I'm Jewish and racially white and have definitely experienced racism, discrimination. The paradox is that most of that racism is coming from white people or European society, white nationalism, etc. That's directed at Jews. So.
Can they disagree a step forward?
Interesting. I don't want to talk the whole video. I've been getting comments from some of y'all talking about that I'm speaking too much during the reactions. I gotta talk in the reactions, bro. I have to talk. If I don't talk, then what's the point of me even doing the video if I can't give my opinion? I don't know. Look, it only got like 3 likes. It's a comment under the Kevin Samuel video. Somebody commented that, bro. But I'm gonna talk. It's the video. If you don't like the video, man, you can click off, man. But I'm gonna talk.
So I just want to say that I want to validate everyone's individual experiences. I do also believe that white people experience bias, prejudice, but the reason I did not step forward is because by definition, racism is tied to power and economics. You talked about systemic discrimination. I don't feel white people experience racism by definition and by actual concept.
What is the definition of racism and who wrote that definition?
In the late 1500s, early 1600s, there was slavery. They started bringing over slaves, but there was really no concept of classifying people in terms of race. It's just we're bringing these people over and they're slaves. What ended up happening is some of the slave owners who were white started mixing with some of the slaves. And now here you have these black people that look like the people that are owning things. So they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. The theory of race was formed to classify a group of people who would be lesser than and have less economic power. And this would be imposed against them for hundreds of years. So that has not been the white experience in this country, but it does not invalidate the things that white people experience. It's just not racism by definition. Is it prejudice? Is it bias? Is it wrong? Yes.
Mine is simple. If one person treats another person differently because of the color of their skin, to me that's racism. I will tell you that I was stopped by the police plenty of times when I was a young man, and I will also tell you that I then decided to spend 35 years as a policeman. I'll tell you that I stopped lots of kids coming home from school. Depending on who it was that I stopped, the first thing out of their mouth would be, "You only stopped me because I'm black." And I would say, You're driving a sports car with a back window that's this big. I can't see who's driving, and I stopped you because you're doing 95 and a 55. I had no idea who I was pulling over until I stopped you. Now, if I treat you differently because you're black, then I'm a racist. But if I write you the same ticket that I was going to write you before I knew who was behind the wheel, I'm not.
So I'm glad you used that example, and I want to commend you for your service for our country. But I do want to say, because I've actually taught classes for the LAPD and for their cadets about these issues. But what I can say, which is a statistic, and which is also a fact, is that 60% of our prison population is African American.
Different issue.
Yes, but let me finish, please. Is African American males, right? When you go into a system and you are kept in that system and you're cycled through probation and there is a systematic sequence of oppression, that's not happening to white males. So it's bigger than just the stop itself. It's the system.
It's an issue.
Is foundationally racist.
Ooh.
I want to start off by saying I don't think that every cop out there today is racist.
Same.
I think there are a lot of them who are really doing good work. What I know from the establishment of the policing in the United States, that is directly from the slave catchers who were hired to catch runaway.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say that, but I just didn't want to. Yeah. I thought the police foundationally go back to slavery days. Right? So, but let me hear what you have to say.
Slaves and bring them back home.
Yeah, I agree that all cops aren't racist. I had plenty of interactions with police that were fine, but, you know, I was told by a former police officer who was, you know, a cop who decided he didn't want to do that anymore, that, you know, the training is pretty much specialized for only colored people, especially black people, that if you're around them, they're the most dangerous, so you have to act in certain situations or react in certain situations, you know.
I think I just really want to emphasize that I really think that there are some officers who are white that don't even believe that they're doing anything that may be racially motivated because they're simply doing what they were taught to do.
I come from a police family, and I'd like to add they do offer diversity trainings in the academy. So either it needs to be more extensive, or maybe we need to take it a step back and fix the selection process, because that process could be inherently racist.
Historically, people formed groups, villages. Some people were hunters, some people were farmers, and then you had whoever was going to protect the group. And over hundreds of years, thousands of years, whatever it is, that's how we wind up having cops, firemen, armies, and navies. Community policing as a theory is a good idea. As a practice, it has some hiccups. When I show up at your house because you and your husband got into it and he beats you up and I'm friends with him, so do I want to take him to jail? He's my friend. Or I live in the same neighborhood and I go deal with some guy who's a really bad dude, and he says, I know where you live, I know where your kids are. So to some degree, we have to have a little separation. This is going to get into a hot button topic, but I will tell you that, you know, when I watched the horrible video of George Floyd, I will tell you that I can justify many of the things that happened, but I cannot justify 9 minutes on his neck or back. But what I can also tell you is I, as a policeman, and this is my personal opinion only too, the officer who was on him for 9 minutes, he probably spent too much time in the same neighborhood dealing with the same problems over and over again that he became jaded.
Isn't that what being a police officer is?
Yeah. It's a social service job.
And you're assigned to that district or that community.
But I think you need to move around so that you get to see other things. You don't become that jaded.
Okay. He's saying some real shit right here, and this this is something that like I've also kind of like wrestled back and forth in my mind about, because you have to understand these officers, not all of them are terrible, and they're human beings too. At the end of the day, they're human beings, right? Okay. We as human beings, we get annoyed, we get frustrated, we get mad, things of that. And I understand that they are trained to be calm in these type of situations and hostile situations and stuff like that. I understand that, but also think about this: if I'm sent in an area, if I'm in class with somebody, for example, we're in school, we're in class, and there's somebody that I know is very annoying, very rude, and this and that, but I have to keep sitting by them. I'm gonna be annoyed when I walk into school that day, or when I walk into that class, because I know what's about to happen that day. Because I've been here over and over and over again, Monday through Friday. I have to sit next to this person, and I know they're very annoying. They talk loud, they're rude, they're obnoxious, all this type of stuff. So I know what's going to happen. I know what to expect, right? I feel like sometimes these cops are the same way going into some of these neighborhoods. If I'm called to go into a neighborhood 5 to 10 times in a week, it's the same shit over and over and over again. The same things going on. Am I not gonna get frustrated? Am I not gonna feel some type of way? Is that not gonna jade my perception of a group of people in a way? Like, think about it. It isn't, and that isn't to justify wrongdoing and putting your knee on somebody's neck for 9 minutes, like he just said. I don't justify that either. I don't. But I also think to myself, how many times have we not as regular civilians have a jaded judgment of somebody or something because of what we've gone through with that person or thing over and over again? You see what I'm saying? Like, we're human beings. Like, if something happens repeatedly to us, where we're like we're gonna form a negative connotation towards that thing. Just saying. If I live in a neighborhood, and let's just say a group of Asians keep robbing my mom, right? Like they keep robbing her from whatever. Maybe like they're going into my garage and stealing shit. When a new Asian family moves into the neighborhood that I don't know about, and they don't know how that neighborhood is ran and things that happened there before they got there, do you not think my mom gonna feel some type of way about that family, like as a prejudgment of them, even though it's wrong? It's not. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that is what it is. We all do it. We just don't all vocalize it. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna feel some type of way about that family because they're Asian, and because I know Asians. I've only seen Asians steal from me repeatedly, so I'm gonna feel some type of way about them. So I think sometimes when it comes to the police force is foundationally racist, I do think that's partly true, because I do think it stems from the foundation of it is not genuine. J. Cole had a statement about it a long time ago in a Breakfast Club interview. He talked about how the police are not like their foundation. Police are not. They're not good foundationally because of how they started and their aim in the beginning of how they started out being. Now there's good cops that are part of a really, really bad system. You see, that's what I think it is. But I really hope y'all comment on this video, bro, and please give y'all opinions, because I want to learn some shit from y'all too.
The police, no matter what your race is, we have to be integrated all together with the community. And it doesn't have to be community policing, but we all have to understand each other more. I think cultural competency would be very helpful. Like, that's my issue. Whether or not the foundations of the police force was or still was racist, now we can change that, but it starts with cops. Like, at the end of the day, it's the bad police officers that are our issue. Not all police officers, but the bad police officers, we need to vet them out, and the good police officers, we need to, encourage them to be amongst the community.
How do we vet them out?
By making the police unions accountable, because I feel like that demographic of officers, they're actually making things a lot worse for the other officers that are actually just trying to do their job. I think that we need to get some type of real accountability. That I don't think the police should be policing themselves. So when those cops that aren't upholding their oath, they can be properly removed instead of getting all of these passes.
The bad police officers, I hate the term like the bad apple. It's like, no, you're a faulty grenade. Like you're ruining your whole.
I think one way to solve that problem would be to mess with I think when you start taking away their pensions, bro, for them doing foul shit, things will change. Because they know if I fuck up and do some racist ass shit, I'm gonna lose my retirement shit. I'm gonna lose all my retirement. I'm gonna lose my pension, and that's where, you know what I mean. And if you hit them where it's really gonna like something like if you hit them in their pockets, they're gonna change. I think that's one way to do it.
Apartment reputation. I feel like I was held up to higher standards working at Whole Foods sometimes. I got 3 chances out, but like Derek had so many
17 reports before George Floyd.
17 reports. It's like, get him out of there. What are you guys doing?
Do you think police officers, and I genuinely am curious, do you think they should get paid more?
I think police officers should get paid more. I also think police officers should do less. Why do I get sent?
It's off topic, but Derek Chauvin actually lives like probably maybe like 10-15 minutes away from me, somewhere like in like where I live. He lives near me some way. It's so crazy because right after it happened, like he was on the news, like I don't know what he was thinking, bro. He like ordered a pizza. I mean he was probably hungry. He like ordered a pizza while there were like hundreds of people outside his house like protesting and shit. When the pizza guy came, I think like the crowd like basically forced him to leave, which is kind of funny, bro. Like he couldn't even like drop off the pizza, but it's kind of off topic. But I thought I'd say that.
All of the mental health cases. Why do I get sent
I agree.
to all of these things? Now, I'll tell you why I get sent to them, is because we'll stop sending the police there, and then something horrible and tragic is going to happen, and they're going to say, why didn't we have a cop there?
Do you think we need to have different divisions like mental health and just other, or maybe even specific police that are just for the schools? Like, do you think that would help with a lot of the issues?
No. We do have specialized police officers in certain things, but if we keep specializing and we get so compartmentalized that I can't go, I'm right across the street from you when you're screaming for help. Yeah. That's not what I do. Got to go find the guy that deals with screaming women or whatever it is. My name is Jimmy, and I am a retired police officer. I'm not going to tell you that there are no racists on the police department. I don't think blacks were historically treated fairly under the law. I think that we have made great progress, great strides. I think we have to continue to get better, but I also think we probably see racism to this day in places where it maybe isn't.
White privilege exists.
To an extent, yeah, I think so.
I mean, America was founded by white people, for white people at the time. All of the institutions were designed to benefit white people.
That's true.
So, I mean, of course, white privilege lingers into society today. You can't deny that.
Right.
Where I would argue with you just a little bit is I think we throw out the term white privilege far too often for things that aren't necessarily white privilege.
I've got to agree with you completely on that one. I think there's generational white privilege for sure, but I think now it's almost used as a reason to not try as hard. If we stop doing that, just really like work for it and not use white privilege as an excuse, then we could really get somewhere as in the black community.
Yeah.
I would respectfully disagree. Like, all of that is true to an extent. Like, I graduated university during the pandemic, the height of it. I went abroad for university. I got 2 degrees. I graduated with honors. Learned to speak 2 languages. I should have been able to get a job right away, right? No. It took me 9 months before I was able to get a job. Had to go completely outside of my field. But then when I looked at all of my white colleagues who were in my program, all of them were hired immediately.
I need to introduce you to my daughter. She's white. Took her a long time.
And I'm not saying that. I'm saying
and
just...
she didn't get her job in what her degree is in either.
I respect that, but my point is saying me comparing myself to the white students who were directly in my position, they're successful, I'm not.
This country was founded upon white people coming and then putting in act Jim Crow and other laws saying that if you are not white, you are genetically inferior. You are not even a person. And some of those laws are still, and those systems are still in place today. Two things can be true. You can have had a very hard time. Privilege is not just limited to white people, but to say white privilege doesn't exist from a historical context, to me, is respectfully absurd.
Something that I learned about recently is the privilege that exists in the medical field, specifically relating to the birthing process in giving epidurals. There was a study that's recently, or was debunked, that said that Black people have a higher tolerance for pain, which then has been falsely used by people who help support births in being hesitant to provide the epidurals for Black women giving birth. A lot of women die in childbirth. I don't know the exact statistics. So
3 times more likely.
Black 3 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause than white women. Multiple factors contribute to these disparities, such as variation in quality healthcare, underlying chronic conditions, structural racism, and implicit bias.
Women are to die.
Thank you. The fact that I will be taken seriously, more seriously than a Black woman in my place if I should be giving birth at some point, I see that as just an absolute privilege.
I have been fetishized for my race.
Definitely.
You know, the standard one. Oh, you're
Definitely.
pretty for a Black girl. I'm like, that's
opinion.
not a compliment. That's so weird to say. And like one of the go-to pickup lines for men, they're like, oh my God, what are you? I'm like, this is not cute. I'm tired of having this conversation. This is lame. Yes, I know I have green eyes, hazel eyes. Like, let's move on.
I think Black women in particular are just extremely sexualized and fetishized. Every day I go out, I'm making sure that my outfit is, you know, okay, because I don't want to draw certain attention. The way I wear my hair, if it's in an afro, if it's in puffs, if it's in braids, I'm going to get treated differently. Yeah, every single day something happens.
So there's a form of positive anti-Semitism where Jews are perceived as like being put together, coming from money, being doctors, lawyers, and you know, women are attracted to those sort of things. And then also too, like all Jewish men are circumcised. Some women have that preference. So I've definitely experienced it, but I feel like it's a sort of subtle, trivial thing. Like it never really bothered me, but it's occurred nonetheless.
Yeah, I've had experiences in high school, college. You know, people ask me to stop me, mainly women. Like, oh, are you Egyptian? Or are you Black in this or Black in that? There's always something. There's always Black in something else. And I let them know what I am, and they'd be like, oh, that's exotic or something crazy. You know?
We need reparations for the Black community.
Oh.
I don't think people need like individualized like paychecks. Like I don't think that's gonna like work. But I think pouring funds into communities who could really use it, building jobs there, more education there, like more opportunities would do so much. Like that's how I see it should be.
Anytime that Black communities in the US tried to, you know, pull themselves up by the bootstraps, they were attacked. Like I think it was in Tulsa, they bombed the city. Black Wall Street, it was completely destroyed. So again, something needs to be done.
When the Civil War ended, there was a representative from Ohio, I can't remember his name, but he was a radical Republican and advocated for the phrase 40 acres and a mule for every emancipated slave. So there was supposed to be reparations, and there never was. And I think especially as a Jewish person, I mean, Jews received reparations for the Holocaust and are still receiving them. And in my mind, there's no amount of money that will ever undo the wrong of the Holocaust. So that all the money in the world will never make it right. But I think the idea and principle of reparations is good. Logistically, I don't know how it would happen.
I think we deserve it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it would have happened by now, and I remember the rapper T.I. was talking about how you have to have it has to be a nationality or something like that to be able to receive reparations, and being in black African American is not a nationality. Something like that he was talking about. I don't know. I gotta look at. I gotta look up.
I just wanted to say the reason I stayed back was because I wasn't entirely sure what was meant by reparations, but your example of the Holocaust, I would say that I agree.
Similar reason, when I think of reparations, I think of something similar to a stimulus check. My worry is, with the lack of financial literacy, will we actually make strides? So I would love the idea of investing money into programs in underserved communities, something like that. But I do have a fear that even if we did have the money, without that generational knowledge of how to take care of our finances, that it would just deplete and defeat the purpose.
But even if that were to happen, though, I still think that would still be the right step. We'll give these people the funds or whatever. We'll give them our promise, and if they float or sink or whatever, that's on them. At least we as a country took the right step.
I'm all for money going to the community. I am for that, because the communities right now are the way they are because of things in the past. But to give out checks to individual people, there's a difference between learning from the past and then still getting caught up in the past. I mean, if I had a time machine, I could go back in time and be like, hey, you never gave us the 40 acres and a mule. I would be all for that, and I would get on that for the people who were affected and actually went through slavery. But in today's age, no one's experienced it and gone through it. Yes, the communities are taking hit by that, but so I mean, I've never.
You don't think your ancestors experienced slavery?
I think they do, but I haven't. I've never been in it, so why should I get a check from somebody else who never put? You should be going way back.
So what about the people who are the descendants of the slave owners, who are still reaping the financial benefits of your ancestors who slaved in those fields for literally generation after generation? You don't think that during that time, your great-grandfather could have been building a business that could be flourishing by now, and you would have a multi-million-dollar franchise as they do off the backs of others? You don't think that deserves some rectification for you in the present time?
To be honest, no, because it's something that happened in the past. Again, I haven't experienced it. I'm doing fine right now. I'm doing fine. And I'm not going to be all upset over somebody else's ancestors who I don't even know who enslaved my ancestors. I don't need it. I have no reason to have it.
So for me personally, I'm not upset about it, but I do feel my grandfather, on his side, they were the first family in the state of Texas to actually file for reparations. And for me, I'm succeeding in spite of that. But to this gentleman's point, when the government says, hey, we're gonna do a thing, obviously the government in itself saw the weight and the air of the wrong, just as the German government did. I think if I want to buy 90 gold chains, that's my business. I think it would be unfortunate, but I think that if I'm entitled to something, I think it should be in the same fashion that the people of Jewish descent got it. I think it should be in the same fashion that the people that are Japanese descent got it. So you might think it doesn't affect you, but overall, I think that we have been greatly impacted by slavery, even up to current. I just choose not to focus on it nonstop so it doesn't become something that holds me back. But I definitely think it's something that we're entitled to.
Thank you.
Great, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Damn, it's only a 40-minute video. I'm about to cut this shit down. But I will say this. I think we do deserve reparations. I do understand that a lot of I think the average white household is worth $170,000, and the average black household is worth $17,000. Now, we do have to take some type of accountability for how we're moving today, because there are a lot of opportunities for us to succeed today. But I also understand that those numbers also do stem from previous generations and how it was in this country for black people, and how they weren't able, with redlining and Jim Crow and all these type of things that affected how they were able to, basically start their lives, buying houses, business, and stuff like that. So it's definitely something to take into account. But I think it was a great video. I really do. I think it was great to hear all three sides, from the black side, white side, and the biracial side. you know, and just get people's, you know, and get people's points of view. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you guys think? Please comment down below what you guys think about the video. Did you guys like it? What did you guys think about the questions that were asked? Was there anybody's answers that kind of stuck out to you? I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section, but I'm gonna leave it there. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. I got more reactions coming for y'all very soon, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Peace.